For this. Okay, thank you so much for being with me. I am loving these backgrounds. Give me 1 second. Hey, Patricia, can you mute yourself? I can't mute you for some reason. Oh, it might be muted. Okay. All right. So thank you so much for joining me. If you are catching this on the replay, make sure that you watch these. All of these are very important. And if you don't know who I am, my name is Lindsey. I'm a registered nurse and certified dementia practitioner. I have been with the dementia community for the last 16 years. I started out as a CNA before I was an RN. I've worked at an assisted living and nursing home, 2 private care companies, 2 adult daycares, and I was a telephonic nurse case manager. So I was on the other side of dementia, being on the medical side of it. If you've heard this story before, I tell it all the time. I wasn't really aware of how much the caregivers actually need help until I was faced with it in my own life. My sweet dear friend actually passed away because she was caring for her husband with dementia. She went to the doctor. She had a spot on her lung, but she wasn't able to take care of herself while caring for him. He went downhill very fast and he was very mean. He was a wonderful, nice person before dementia started. And then when he got dementia, he did a 360 and he was really mean. So she kept that burden on her. She felt a lot of guilt. She vowed to him 30 plus years ago she wouldn't put him in a nursing home or assisted living. And she kept true to that statement, except for when he got so bad and I was able to convince her to put him in an assisted living. He passed away after that, and she finally had time to go to the doctor. He passed away right before COVID hit. So she finally had time to go to the doctor. She went to the doctor during COVID. She had the spot on her lung grew. She went through chemo and radiation. They didn't work. She was really sick. She got really frail. She lost all of her hair, had no energy. And not only did the chemo and radiation not work, but the cancer spread to her liver and her brain, and she ended up passing away in January of 2021. So I realized after that the caregiver community is in dire need of help from someone, and no one's doing this. I mean, I'm the first person that I know of giving education to the dementia caregiver community. So I have now devoted my time to helping caregivers live the best quality of life for themselves while caring for their loved ones, because it is vital for you guys to take care of yourselves. I have done some research, and through AARP, they have actually done studies that say 30% or more of caregivers die before their loved ones do, due to stress and all the overwhelm that comes with caregiving. And there's no balance of how to care for yourselves with your loved ones, which I have the information that I'm going to give to you so that it will help you balance yourself with caring for your loved one. There's so many different scenarios and situations that happen when you are caring for a loved one with dementia. And the doctors and nurses don't even really know how to deal with it. Luckily for me, I have had 16 years worth of information and dealing with the dementia community and now helping the caregivers. So I want to give you tactical information that you can use right here, right now, that will help you formulate a plan that you can help yourselves and help your loved ones at the same time. So today's topic, we're going to talk about how to make time for yourself. And I have a couple notes. So if you want to grab a piece of paper and a pen, to take some notes. You can also watch this training again. This is going to take some time for you guys to implement. I mean, it's not going to just happen overnight. When we get into these habits, especially if you've had years and years of doing the same thing over and over again, you have your certain routine, it takes time to actually understand and implement what you need to change that will help you along the way. So it's not just going to be like, snap your fingers and you're going to be able to do just all this stuff and implement it, and you're going to have a happy, wonderful life and no problems. You're going to have to take time to really implement this. I have sticky notes all over the place. I take dry erase markers and I write on the mirrors to make sure that I don't forget. I have sticky notes on the refrigerator. So it's a process to figure out how to implement some of these tactics and use them for your everyday life. so that you can go further. So, number one, speaking of habits, is habits. We get into these grooves and routines that we do on a daily basis. And it's almost like we do it subconsciously. Like, have you ever driven a car and forgot how you got from place to place because, not specifically with dementia, but because it's a routine, you know, the same drive, you know, the same whatever, and you forgot how you got from there to there. It's the same thing. So you have these certain habits with you and your loved one that you're caring for that you do on a daily basis. But in order to change those habits to make time for yourself, you have to understand what your schedule is like on a daily basis and not just go through the day-to-day actions. Understand, what times does your loved one get up? What times do you get up? What time is their like downtime, where they're taking a nap or something throughout the day? What time do they go to bed where you can have some time for yourself? So you have to make yourself a priority. We are so used to making everybody else a priority that we forget about ourselves. But write down their schedule. You know their schedule by heart because you know you live it on a daily basis. But when you put it on a piece of paper and you actually write it down, you start to see little uh, gaps of time where you will have time for yourself, even if it's 5 to 10 minutes. You'll start seeing, once you write down your schedule and their schedule, the times where you have these gaps where you can fit in something for yourself. So make sure that you are looking at your daily habits and their daily habits to figure out what times that they have gaps in their schedule. What time do you have gaps in your schedule that you can fit yourself as a priority? So number two, setting boundaries. This is how you ultimately make time for yourself. Right now, most caregivers don't have any boundaries for themselves. They just go and go and go and go and go until they're exhausted, and they don't have any time for themselves. But you have to make boundaries for yourself. There are things that you can certainly do at this time. There are things that you absolutely cannot do. There are things that you try to do, but if you don't do them, it's okay. Sometimes we feel guilty for not doing something for someone else, when in reality, we have to set that boundary and say, hey, I'm only one person. I can only do so much. I'm trying the best that I can with the information that I have at this moment, but I cannot do anything for anyone else at this moment. And you have to set that boundary. It's okay to say no. It's okay to leave tasks for someone else or leave tasks unfinished. It's okay. But you have to ultimately set those boundaries for yourself and know and trust yourself that you can do this certain task, but there is no way that you can do this certain task, and it's okay. Now, along with setting boundaries, you have to be able to let go and delegate other tasks. There are certain tasks that we feel, or everything that we feel, that's in our control. And usually women, there are some men that are caregivers, but it's usually the women that are caregivers. And we feel like we have to have control over everything. And that if it doesn't get done our way, it's not going to get done the correct way. And that we have to redo it if someone else did it. But you have to let go of those boundaries and those priorities that you can get the stuff done. You have to delegate it to other people, even if it's your loved one, even if they have dementia and they are losing their memory, but they can still do things like the laundry, or they can maybe help you put dishes in the dishwasher. It may not be done correctly, but if it gets done, let it go and leave it alone. If they can help you with the laundry at some point, it may be all folded up and crumbled up, but guess what? They did it. Let it go. Just shove it in their drawer. You have to let some things go. There are some times where you have to let go and say, I can't deal with that right now. And if I can get someone else to help me, even if it's not perfect, even if it's not my way, they are helping me and I'm letting go. And then let them do the task, because guess what? That gets your 5 minutes back. That gets your half hour back. That gets time back for yourself. You don't have to, be on them to do it. If they do it in a certain way or certain whatever, let it go. Just let it go. It's done. You don't have control over it. And that's one thing that you cannot do. All right. Now, a couple other things. Take mini breaks. So right now, you might be taking a break watching this training, but not just this. You have to take mini breaks. Is there a break where they have some downtime or they're watching TV and you can just sit back? Is there some time where they're going in their room to relax, or you've already finished lunch and they're kind of on the sleepy side and they're going to take a nap and you can take a mini break? Whatever that looks like for you, because obviously I'm not in your home, but you have to figure out a schedule of what that looks like for you. When can you take mini breaks? You have to take mini breaks for yourself to understand that there are some times where your brain gets so overloaded that you can't figure out anything anymore. And the logical part of your brain, if your brain gets too overloaded, you are in the exact same position that they are in, because their logical brain is gone from dementia. But if your logical brain, if you are so overwhelmed, your logical brain right now is gone. And it doesn't help to have your logical brain gone. So when you feel in that moment that you are overwhelmed to the max, you need to take a mini break. But that's not really good enough. You have to get to the point where you can take several little mini breaks throughout the day in order to not reach that threshold of, I am done, my brain is about to explode, I'm so overwhelmed, I'm so anxious, I'm so angry at this moment. You have to get to a point. And again, this is why I said it takes some time to figure out the little time breaks of when you can take a mini break. But the point is, I don't want you to get to such a high emotional state that you're just completely overwhelmed and done and you're crying or screaming or frustrated. You need to, because that's when the threshold is way too high. We don't want to get it up there. You want to get to a point where you can take 5 minutes here, there in between your schedule so that you're not getting up to the threshold. Now, like for pain. So if you've ever had a surgery or something and they give you pain medication, and a lot of people don't like to take pain medication because there's a lot of side effects and then you feel like you're going to get addicted to it. But the point is, for short-term pain medication, that you're taking it around the clock so that your pain threshold doesn't get way up here. Because if your pain threshold gets way up here, then it takes more and more and more pain medication to even reach the pain level that you have. Whereas if you took the pain medication in the doses that they gave it to you, the instructions where you take it every 4 hours, every 6 hours for like 3 days or so, then your pain tolerance is decreased and your pain is decreased to where you're getting the right amount of pain medication to where your pain threshold isn't up here. That's the same analogy as if you were to get overwhelmed, frustrated, angry, and your threshold is you're about to pop and explode and you can't handle one more single thing. We don't want you to get that way. We want you to be able to take little mini breaks throughout the day to make sure that you, at any given moment and any given day of the week, 365 days a year, that you're not way up here. Because what happens internally, it's not just externally where you feel angry and frustrated and overwhelmed and you're crying. Internally, things happen with your body that stressors internally you don't feel. Like you won't feel your blood pressure. Sometimes you will, but sometimes you won't feel your blood pressure skyrocketing. When your blood pressure skyrockets, the arteries in your body clench down. And that breeds a whole bunch of things. All of the organs don't get enough blood, your kidneys are affected, everything. So in that instance, when you're stressed, you won't feel what's going on inside your body, but there are physiological changes happening in your body when your stress is way up here. That also goes into the fact of the AARP statistics and saying that 30% of caregivers die before their loved ones do because of the stressors. So the stressors on the outside, yeah, you might see them where you're frustrated, you're angry, but over time, those stressors lead to significant health problems if you don't get this solved right now. And if you don't put boundaries in place, if you don't set certain systems up or strategies that you have to be a caregiver for the long term. I mean, realistically, if your loved one is pretty much healthy, regardless of their memory or not, if they are healthy, they could last 10, 15 years, sometimes even longer, depending on what age that they get diagnosed. So you really have to think about this. Are you able to care for them for the next 10 years? If you are doing this the way you're going right now, do you think that you will have significant health problems more than they will in the long term? Do you think that you would be able to care for them for 10 years financially, physically, emotionally? If not, you really have to think about readjusting what you're doing right now. And that's why I'm doing these Zoom chats, because you have to figure out a way to make this a better situation for both of you and your loved one at the same time, especially if you have such a high frustration level right now or anything is going on. They have hardly any cognitive thinking right now. They have long-term thinking, but their short-term thinking is gone. So their logical center of the short-term thinking is also gone. So if they're frustrated and they're rolling their eyes at you or yelling at you, but then in turn you get frustrated and you're rolling your eyes, you're yelling at them, you're doing all this stuff, anger and anger breed more anger. If you can get to the point where that stuff doesn't bother you, even though that you're their loved one, if you can get to the point where you take so many minute breaks per day where that stuff doesn't bother you anymore that they say, then you will be able to last a lot longer doing what you're doing. All right, last one. I want you to make a list on a piece of paper of what tasks that you need to do now that can be completed in 1 week, and that can be scheduled out 1 month. So not only you doing this stuff, but can you delegate this? If you know you are good at this, this, and this, but I am not good, or I am not able to do this, this, and this, put those things that you're good at on one side, but the things that you don't want to do or that you're not good at on another side, and then delegate those things, even if it's not perfect. And by that meaning like dishes, laundry, paying bills, taking your loved one to the doctor, anything else. Like if you're not good at like taking them to the bathroom, but no one else is there, well then, that can be delegated. But is there someone you could pay to do that? Is there a CNA that you can get? That can be delegated. Is there an attorney or an accountant that you can get to pay their bills? Can you put them on auto pay? Things like that. Can you hire a service to take them to the doctor, but then you can call the doctor's office afterwards, or they will send an aftercare summary to you where you can read over it and just make sure, because you also have to prioritize your health too. So is there a list that you can make of what you have to do for yourself that needs to be completed immediately? That can be scheduled out in 1 week, and that can be scheduled out in 1 month. Things like that. You have to start taking the initiative. It's going to take a little while to get used to this, and it's going to take a little while of the process of having to do it to really understand what you can delegate, what needs to be done by you, and what can you let go of in order to make your time back and you as a priority again. All right. So last thing too is I don't want you to rest when you're exhausted. I want you to rest during the day, which is those little breaks, to make sure that you are able to function for yourself and for your loved one. So I'm going to look up and research the statistics, but there was I think there was there was research done that if you are exhausted, don't quote me on this, but I saw somewhere that if you are exhausted, it is the exact same brain capacity as someone who is high on drugs. So if you are exhausted, now don't quote me on this, I will research it and get it in the group, but I did see somewhere that, because they were talking about driving while exhausted or something, and there was a doctor that said if you are exhausted, you have, in the moment that you are exhausted, you have the same functioning brain capacity as someone who is high on drugs. So obviously that's not good. So you don't need to be exhausted and do all this stuff. You need to take the mini breaks to make sure that you understand what you can and cannot do. And at those times when you're exhausted, you need to rest. But the point is to get you guys to figure this out of when you can take breaks during the day so that your brain doesn't get to that point. Okay, so I want to share something with you real quick. Now, this is for USA members only at this time. I have a very exciting program that I am implementing, but at this time it's only implemented for people that live in the United States of America because I'm a registered nurse. I don't know the legalities of any other country, but I wanted to share this with you. So I made a program. I'm so excited to share this with you because I've had such tremendous amount of people interested in what I'm doing and the Zoom chats that I am going one step further with this, where you can actually now work with me one-on-one in a little group setting where we are going to have more Zoom chats available. So the Zoom chats that I'm doing now are just they're not scheduled all the time. And this group, while it's growing and amazing and overwhelming, there is a need to take it one step further because you guys there's a hard time implementing all this stuff when you're doing a whole bunch of stuff. So you can listen to me talk, but are you really going to implement it when you get off of the Zoom chat? 9 times out of 10, and this doesn't just go for this group, it goes for everyone. 9 times out of 10, we really don't implement things when there's nobody really following us. So I am able to now offer this where I will have an in-depth training for you that you will work with me for 3 months. So we're going to start on August 1st and end October 31st, which is a Sunday, both Sundays. So if you're a caregiver struggling with a balance of needs with your loved one and with yourself, if you feel like you're at your wit's end but don't know what to do about it, if you feel alone and isolated, overwhelmed and stressed, you can't get a break, or you're having a hard time figuring out how to balance everything, then I am implementing a program where we can work one-on-one with you and that you will feel like there's a weight lifted off your shoulders. You'll be at peace with your decisions instead of guilt, energetic instead of overwhelmed, supported instead of isolated. We're going to go through more trainings of how to decrease overwhelm, anxiety, stress, guilt, caregiver burnout, work-life balance. You'll have a monthly one-on-one consult with me where we are going to develop a personalized plan to balancing your self-care. There's a different private community just for the people that are paying also, and you will have a ton of more trainings. So for right now, the Hero Mentor program is $997. You're going to work with me for 3 months. It's August 1st to October 31st. Now, if you sign up today, this training will go for today. If you sign up today, I will give you a month free because technically I want to start on Sundays. So tomorrow is Sunday and I was going to implement a training for anyone that signs up. So I'm going to implement all of July Sunday trainings that you will get for free. And then in August, you will start with the real program. So you'll actually get a month free. So I just want to go back up here for a second. This is a one-of-a-kind solution. I have not seen anyone else do this, period. There hardly is any resources or not enough resources for the dementia community and the dementia caregiver community. So I found lots of hacks and helpful tips and tricks that I have implemented along the way over my last 16 years of helping. And dream for a second. What if you knew that you were with somebody that could take you a step further in the right direction, that you knew you were in good hands, someone that understands you, that you could take a big deep breath and feel like a weight is lifted off your shoulders, that you could start with a beautiful beginning, a new outlook on life, a new breath of fresh air, and someone that really understands you and helps you get on track. So that is what I am implementing. It's $997 for 3 months. Now, if you were to go to, let's say, counseling, um, actually counseling is about, well, 12 to 2,000 a month, technically, depending on what, and that's out of pocket, depending on what expenses you have. And that's only an hour's worth of talking to someone. So there's going to be so much more that I am going through with this caregiver training. So if you want to work with me further, you can certainly do that. If that is not right for you at this point, that is okay. You can soak up all of the trainings that I'm going to be doing for free. And there are so many more trainings I'm going to go through. I'm actually going to do probably like 3 weeks of trainings on the weekends or throughout the week, just to give you as much information as you can. Now, just because I'm doing this caregiver program that you can pay me for does not mean I'm going to stop this free group. So I'm still going to have this free group open, and you're going to learn so much more from me that you can implement. This is if you want to take it one step further and work with me on a one-on-one basis weekly, where we do weekly trainings. I have special guests coming in. I can give you lots of tips and tricks and hacks of how to care for yourself in the best quality and care for your loved ones. All right, so on that note, if you want to sign up, let me know, and I will. Oh, there's also reviews of me on here that I've had so far. So I can give you this this information if you are interested. If not, that is okay. I just wanted to make this available for you, that I'm so excited to implement all of this mentorship and coaching, and the dementia caregiver community really needs this. I totally understand. So on that note, I will see you at 4 p.m. We are talking about make time to do everything. All right. Bye, guys.